It isn't one to be taken lightly right yet, is it? We've got to get the job done.
No, absolutely not. And I remember when Atalanta were, 2-1 down against Club Brugge, and Club Brugge played their game very effectively, set up for the counter. 3 goals in the fourth half, 3 very good goals, might I add you. Nothing sloppy about it. 3 very good goals, and it's going to feel like, although this is on the different end now, where it's going to feel like that Club Brugge are going to chase the game, so it kind of falls into our hands a little bit that if they do chase the game, then we need to be quick and effective on the counter. Because when we played against Brentford, I felt the first half, when we were catching Brentford on the counter, we were too slow, taking the extra touches when we didn't need it. But then for our goal, we didn't take any extra touches. One touch, Jacob Ramsey dribbled the ball for another touch, pass off, Ollie Watkins from the left and through the goalkeeper's legs. It was that simple. So if that's going to be the case where Club Brugge are going to chase the game and we catch them on the counter, then we need to be quick and effective and put the game to bed early.
Yeah. It's one of those, isn't it, where you think, look, a goal for Villa would settle it down. A solid performance as well, solid, organised, would also keep us in check. But then one of those early goals or first shot on target conceded or something like that, will be really putting the cat amongst the pigeons for Aston Villa and the players and the fans. And you've seen it in quite a few of these games over the last couple of years that we've been in Europe. Even the Celtic game, there was lots on that game. It's a phenomenal atmosphere, but we went 2-0 up and then all of a sudden we're back to 2-2. And we've had these types of games, haven't we, where it's been back and forth, or it's been right up until the last minute. I think back to Zrinski Mostar at home last season when we couldn't get a goal and then we just managed to get something right at the end. So these European nights, anything can happen in them. Anything can happen. And we just have to, make sure we just do our job and do it right. Because, like you say, all these teams are dangerous. It doesn't matter who you're facing. And in terms of the league, the win against Brentford, I guess, we want to go and win every game. But judging by what our away form was like before this game, a 1-0 away win at a tough place to go like Brentford was probably the scoreline that Aston Villa supporters least expected. But also what it did is it propelled us back into that kind of top 5 race. Now, I know we've been quite sort of up and down in terms of or I have certainly up and down in terms of European chances, Champions League chances. I'm still thinking that I'm still sticking with my end of season prediction of top 6, I think, in terms of where I think we'll finish. But how much do you feel like the Euro charge is kind of back on after that win? Do you think that's really put some life back into our European charge, to move back up the table?
Yeah, and I think it's a great opportunity to do that because we're playing the teams now in the last 9 games and the teams around us.
Mm-hmm.
With Brighton, Forest, Fulham, Newcastle, still have, and who else?
Well, we've got Brighton. Yeah, we've got Brighton away, the first league game back, then Forest at home, then Southampton away, then Newcastle at home, Man City away. So that's up until the end of April. And then the last 4 fixtures are Fulham at home, Bournemouth away, and then Tottenham at home, Man United away. So we chatted about this and sort of said there's probably going to be 3, maybe 4 teams in that list that will be on the beach, let's say. That could be one of them teams could be us, by the way. But
Yeah,
let's just say we're not. Let's just say it's not. And 3 or 4 of those teams could well be on the beach by the time that we play them. So you are right in the sense of everyone we play is almost everyone we play within sort of this next 5 or 6 games is in that race with us. So that
yeah,
just makes the game so much more important.
that's it. It's a 6 pointer, and obviously this season, which was something I touched on with Villa turning up for big games, which is something that we have done this season, and kind of not turned up for the small ones as such. Where now every game in the Premier League is a big game, because if these lads
Mm.
want to get fifth place, well, obviously with how the coefficient is performing in the Champions League at the moment, then they have to go and win every single game possible. And like you said, 3, maybe 4 teams on the beach. That might be Southampton, Spurs, Man United. Maybe Manchester City could be on the beach simply because the way they've
Yeah.
been going this season. So them players might think they'd be on the beach and might throw the towel in. Who knows? Uh, but I definitely think if we go and win, try every game possible. If we can win with 9 games left, if we can win 6 out of them games, I think fifth to sixth would be realistic, and then maybe other results trying to go our way too.
He's got plenty of options, hasn't he, to rotate the squad. FA Cup could come into it in terms of an extra game after the Preston game, so that could come into it. But you've got to be thinking with the options that he's got, we should be trying to go into every single game now with a fresh squad, with players that he can operate and players that he can use, and he's certainly giving himself the best opportunity.
Yeah, I think in terms of rotating the squad, there's no problem rotating the squad as long as there's still that balance.
Mm,
In terms
yeah,
of if you rotate, it's okay to rotate maybe 2 or 3. But I think if you rotate any more than that, I think you disrupt the balance of that starting 11 that may be the strongest starting 11 against certain teams. And, for, Pau Torres to come in, that'll be no problem as long as it's against an opposition where you're going to enjoy possession. In my opinion, that would be against the likes of Southampton, Manchester United, them teams where you're going to enjoy possession, where if you're going to put up in the bigger games where you're going to be up against it, I think that's perfect for Tyrone Mings to come in. And in midfield, it's vice versa. Onana's probably great in terms of being in that possession team, but when you're up against it, I would love him again, Tielemans and Kamara to be in that midfield because they'll be the ones right for the battle. And when you're enjoying possession so much, then there's certain players you bring in to play that game. And I think that would be the most important thing for me is to make sure that you don't disrupt the balance of that starting 11 going into certain games.
yeah, you're 100% right. I think there would be maybe tweaks to starting lineups depending on opposition. But I think they'd be more likely to be, he's like you've said before, he's not scared in making big changes during games. 3 subs on at a time, 4 subs on at a time, subs at half time. He will be more than willing to do that because he has the firepower off the bench or he has the ability to change it. So it's certainly going to be interesting. If I was to ask you now in terms
Mm.
of where you think we're going to finish with regards to the last 9 games of the season. And it does feel like every single weekend there's so much riding on every single game, every single weekend, because and we don't play this weekend. Obviously, we picked up the point against Liverpool that would have been this weekend. But where would you say Villa would finish if I was to ask you now?
I'm going to say fifth. I think we can realistically do it. I think if we beat all the teams around us and then them teams, I think they kind of play around each other too.
Oh yeah, 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 yeah,
So
yeah.
I think if we beat all them and then certain results kind of go away here and there, I think fifth can be doable. Six at the lowest, and then if you're kind of not in that contention by a certain time frame, then you would have to turn your attention to the FA Cup
Mm,
to try and get Europe that way.
yeah, yeah. I'm going to say sixth. I've stuck with that. I think all season. I've stuck with that all season. I think we'll finish in the top 6. FA Cup would be an absolute Brucey bonus. I mean, that would be unreal. And then Champions League quarterfinals, semi-finals would be,
Mm.
semi-finals would be absolutely
Well,
incredible.
my plan is, and I'll say here now, no problem. If Villa beat Preston in the quarter final, and myself and a few lads from Scotland and here in Ireland will be hoping to go down to London. We've an apartment booked close to Wembley, so even if we don't get a ticket, we're still going to be
You'll be
there to
there
enjoy the
enjoying
atmosphere.
the atmosphere.
So Irish and
Absolutely.
Scottish people on the beer, what can go wrong?